Hello, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everyone. It's Stephen Bamford here. We're just about to get started now. Thank you for dialing in. Just a few housekeeping announcements to get us going. If you have any questions, and we hope you do, during the webinar, please use the chat box in the GoToWebinar box. That will be sent to all panelists. And this webinar is being recorded. It will be published later this week on both the Fuse website and the Innovation website, and it will also be sent out via email to all those who have registered for the event. On that note, I'm very humbled to speak to you all today, and also I'd like to say this is actually the largest ever webinar we've run, with over 400 people registering for the event. So hopefully technology is working fine, and I'd like just to run through the agenda for today. You don't want to hear from me too much, so I'll talk quite quickly as usual, and I'll talk to you for about 3 or 4 slides where I really frame what got us to where we are today. I realize there's quite a few people on the call who may not know that much about Fuse. I'll spend a minute or two talking about Fuse, the relationship we have with the FDA, and then how we came to be here today. I'll then pass over to Lilian Rosario from the FDA, who will then talk through the challenges together with her colleagues. On that note, the speakers today, and actually the sponsors for this challenge, are Lilian and myself. And then we have 3 challenge directors from the FDA, Drs. Adapur, D, and Sahu. And you'll hear from them all later on today when we talk about the specific challenges. So for those of you who do not know, and for those of you who do, I won't spend too long on this, but Fuse is a global community. We're basically been around now since for about 15 years. We've got close to 10,000 members across the world from around 40 countries. And it's primarily employees of pharmaceutical and healthcare industry companies, together with supporting software and regulators from around the world. Fuse is run by a non-profit organization, and we like to think that we provide the industry with a platform for creating and sharing ideas, and also looking to provide tools and standards and support in the rollout of such things. So 2004, I started Fuse, and I believe there was an industry-wide need for this group, and so I'm quite humbled that there's 10,000 people have joined. We have moved forward from a first conference with 270 attendees. We've now hosted 14 conferences in Europe, 2 large conferences in the US, and then 8 computational science symposiums together with the FDA in America, and 2 of them in Europe. And we also run a number of single-day events, as you'll see on the slide. We're coming up to 150 of them next year, and they've happened around the world. We've got good working relationships with the FDA, with EMA, and with PMDA, as well as standards organizations such as CDISC and HL7. So just a little bit about how we're here today. And in 2010, 2011, the FDA reached out to Fuse to say, can you help us not only run an event every year, but also to provide a platform, a year-round platform, to help share ideas and to progress projects throughout the year, so that when we come back to the next event, things have actually moved on. And since 2012, we held our first event. We hold it once a year in Silver Spring in Maryland, and basically it's working very well. There's a picture down the bottom here of the main summary room. We get about 300 people turn up every year. It's currently run now in June every summer, and the work is split around several main groups. There's data transparency. There's a group looking at optimizing data standards. There's a group looking at educating for the future. There's quite a large group looking at non-clinical topics, And then there's two other groups, one looking at standard analyses and code sharing, and another one looking at emerging trends and technologies. Within those buckets, there's over 50 projects, and it's basically a community where volunteers from regulators, industry, software, service providers, charities, standards organizations, they all come together, and there are too many deliverables that have been produced now to mention, but quite a few are actually quoted now in regulatory references around the world. So FDA and PMDA, there's the data reviewer guides, analysis, clinical study and non-clinical study standards, and then EMA and Health Canada, they both reference work that has come out of the Data Transparency Group around de-identification of standards. So it's been a healthy relationship between PHUSE and the FDA that's been building since 2010, 2011. Now, when we were in Baltimore for the US event back in March, myself and Lilium sat down and we were having a review of the relationship, and we looked to see if we could do something a bit different. So PHUSE, as I've just alluded to, has got a very vast global network of skilled people. And Dr. Lepore here actually gave a keynote on the Monday morning, and she was focusing on a global problem of the opioid crisis. And Lydia and I, as we sat down, we looked to see if people could use their skills in a different way to what they do at CSS, the Computational Sciences Symposium. That's more around developing new processes and developing new ways of working, where what we were faced with here was basically moving into a solution, really. And we agreed that we'd have a follow-up call with Dr. Lepore and see what the biggest challenges were, and that really was the catalyst. So I'm now going to hand over to Lilium, who will now describe on what happened from that point to when she returned to FDA, and how we've actually got to where we are today. So over to you, Lilium.
Okay, great, thank you. So good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everyone. So we saw this as a great opportunity to try to leverage the expertise that we saw in the CSS environment. And we started to have conversations around how to leverage that. So I want to take you back for a minute to this idea of the light bulb, which is, and it's kind of what happened as we were working on this. So we often associate the light bulb with a sign for innovation, and that we've defined that as the introduction of something new, new ideas, new methods. And we were thinking, okay, what can we do that is different? What can we do that is going to push forward something, a new approach, a new way to try to solve these crises? So like, in talking about the light bulb, we know that like all great inventions, it really can't be credited to just one inventor, right? It was created as a series of small improvements. That's what led to the light bulb the way that we actually see it in our homes today. So when we look at the late 1800s, and before Thomas Edison really patented or commercialized the light bulb, there were a lot of British inventors that were looking into how to move from the arc lamps to something that had a longer lifespan and was less expensive. So you see this process from trying to improve what was available to make it better. So a series of small steps, a series of moving forward, some failures, some winnings, but in general moving forward. So what Edison did, what that was different, is he really focused on improving the filament, right? And that's what actually moved the whole field forward. And then once he did that, he then started to develop a whole suite of inventions that made use of the light bulb and made it practical. And then other people continue to improve the actual filaments, the light bulbs, and continue making the light bulb better. But now there was a whole suite of inventions that was around that, and that became the lighting system that we see today. So the reason why I'm telling you this piece about the light bulb and how we move forward is because I think that it really illustrates what we were trying to do today, which is use this innovation principles to really move forward a field. So, keep it focused, keep it small, and keep it moving. So as Stephen and I were toying with these ideas in the springtime, then the CSS in Silver Springs took place. And, one of the reasons why I really love the CSS is because it's really energetic, it's collaborative, and there's a lot of ideas that are shared. So in keeping with its mission to provide really an open, transparent, and collaborative forum that is addressing computational science needs, there's a lot of activity around different topics. One of those topics was the design thinking. And at the end of the CSS and a closing session, the Educating for the Future working group really showed us the fruit of their labors with those 2.5 days. And in essence, what they showed was a prototype website for challenges. So now we have a fledgling little idea that is growing on how do we address the opioid epidemic? How can we use the talents that we have at CSS to be able to move the field forward? And we're looking around within that environment, and we see now a prototype that says, hey, we can bring these two things together. So we're talking about from February to June, in which we discovered this piece. We take this prototype and we put it together and we say, hey, we can do this. And in essence, we've moved from July to now to be able to put together a challenge and then bring people together around this challenge. So we are putting ourselves here in this space of innovation, taking a risk and hoping that you all come with us and actually be able to join these challenges and see how this is going to work. So we want to unveil these efforts today. What we have is not perfect because we were not striving for perfection. We were striving for innovation. So tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, tell us what's working, and tell us what is not working, because this is how we move forward. We keep it focused, we keep it small, and we keep it moving. So if you tell us how things are going, then we'll be able to move forward a lot better. So our first FUSE FDA Innovation Challenge is hosting questions around the opioid substance use disorder, drug safety, and drug interactions. And with no further ado, I want to introduce you to your hosts, Dr. Mitra Ahapur, Saranjan D, and Sanjay Sahu, and they will be providing a brief background and then taking you through the ideas that we have for these challenges. So what are we looking for? We are looking for new ideas. We are looking for old ideas with new approaches. And most of all, we are looking for collaboration. We are not looking for sales pitches. We are not looking for an opportunity to sell a product. This is a call to contribute to something bigger, to something better than we've done before, and to contribute something to the collaboration circle so innovation can shine brighter. Dr. Ahapur, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Mitra Hatpur. I am the Principal Deputy Director at the Office of Translational Sciences at the FDA. And my expertise is I am a board-certified addiction medicine physician. So thank you for joining the webinar. As mentioned, we started this topic on opioids and substance use disorder in February of 2019 when I first presented it. And I spoke about how the opioid and polysubstance crisis in the U.S. and how there is really increasing evidence that this is not just in the U.S., this is becoming a global problem. There is looking at all this data that I was looking at, even last night I was searching the recent data. This is affecting all countries at different levels. So this has had devastating impact on the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. The rising prevalence of opioid use disorder in pregnant women has led to adverse outcomes for mothers and infants. In the United States, every 15 minutes, an infant was born with neonatal opioid withdrawal syndrome. And to me, that's a tragedy. there is an urgent need to identify effective interventions both for pregnant and parenting women with substance use disorder. Harnessing the social media data has the promise of the patient's voice. It can provide insights into the risk factors and potential interventions. This project can help determine the best methods for supporting women who are seeking treatment, the barriers they face that inhibits them from seeking treatment, and really effective intervention to prevent substance use disorder in women. Using open source social media big data and advanced artificial intelligence techniques, such as predictive deep text mining, it can help in the detection of patterns and individual and community spread of substance use, such as opioids. And as you may have heard, stimulants has now become a big thing. So I really look at it as opioid/polysubstance use disorder. So to really solve this crisis, we need bold actions. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're very excited to be able to host this challenge. In addition, we have 2 more challenges, and we'll go ahead and describe the next one.
Hello, everyone. This is Sanjay Sahu. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of Computational Science under Office of Translational Science. And thank you, Lillian and Stephen, giving me opportunity to run these challenges. And today, my colleague Suranjan Day is not able to join, so I'm going to talk about 2 challenges in front of us today. So I'll start with this to all innovators around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I'll go to the challenge number 2, which talks about the post-market safety surveillance. So just to give you a little bit of background of what is post-market safety surveillance means. The post-market safety surveillance is once the drug goes to the marketplace. Can you go to the second one? Second challenge? No. Yeah, in the screen. Okay, that's good. So the post-market safety surveillance, we gave a name, FDA gave a name called pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance means the collection of the data in the scientific way and gathering information around detecting and adverse events for the drugs which is there in the marketplace. So we collect those adverse events throughout the years, starting from 1969 to today, and we have the data in our databases, around 80 million reports till today. So it is a massive data set we have, but we face a lot of challenges with that. So data comes in some kind of structured and unstructured format. So in order to identify the scientific questions or regulatory questions from those data, we find a lot of issues in how to detect a safety signal, how we can make it safe. Once we find how can we take the regulatory actions in order to change the labeling information, or drugs is causing some of the severe outcomes, we can take a regulatory actions on that. In order to do that, we have analytics, we have a lot of tools, technology, but still there is a space to further innovation. So to answer those questions, this is the challenge we are placing it over here, to use some of the open source data sources, to use some kind of visual techniques for the advanced post-market safety surveillance of our drugs and biologics products. And we are looking for an innovative way to enhance our adverse event analysis within and across the products and product classes. So to do that, you can able to use the data sources we have specified in the screen, which is all public information. So, but it is not limited. You can come up with your own data set from the marketplace and include to these data sources which is provided, and examine what is the best way to identify the safety signals, which is ultimately going to help our scientific reviewer or clinical reviewers in order to address the concerns. So with that, the deliverables we have over here, it says that adverse event analysis dashboard that provides the ability to view and analyze adverse events across and within the specific patient population over the time. And the patient population you can able to select by getting into the detailed information which is listed in the website in the later stage. So that's our challenge. And I wish all best to come in and provide us some information, and I'm happy to engage with you all.
Great.
Can we go to the next challenge?
We'll move into challenge number 3. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is another, it is a kind of a, I say always it's the extension to the previous one, and also which is we talked about the opioid crisis also it is linked to. So predicting drug interaction. So giving a little bit of background of the drug interaction. What exactly the drug interaction is? It's very simple term. So if we as a patient take multiple medications along with the over-the-counter products or any dietary supplements, if we take it, so then we can face 2 kinds of issues. One could be the drug, the primary drug we are taking for our diseases, and it could reduce its effect. That's one outcome. The second outcome could be it could be an adverse effect, which is unwanted adverse side effect. We never see that it's not listed in the label of the drug. So this is a challenge. Mostly you can see that in the elderly patients, which is around 60 plus, 65 years plus, they take multiple medications, more than 5 drugs for their issues and health issues. So when they take it, sometimes they take it for the fever, they take Advil or they take acetaminophen. So if they take it, it might react to the drug they are taking, which is very much unknown. So to address these issues, we have multiple data sources available today, which is one is the FAIRS with the FDA adverse event reporting system, and those data is publicly available through OpenFDA, and Drug Bank, and CAGE, and NDF, RP, and those are some data sources we have provided, which is publicly available data sources. But you can able to also get into some of the publications and other data sources if it is available in the marketplace. You can able to include to this. So saying that, what we are actually looking into, we are seeking a novel approach to collect and analyze post-market and observational health data to predict potential drug interactions. And the ability to predict drug interaction could impact the type and the volumes of adverse events resulting for the patient taking multiple medications. So as you know that this multiple medication, the elderly population they're taking, it is like some of the, there are publications you can read through, and one of the publications I read through, it's listed in Europe. So they found that they did a meta-analysis of some of the data sets. They said that 7% of the population hospitalized due to this multiple drug reactions. So with that, I can give you 1 or 2 examples. So one example is if the patient is taking 2 substances, for example, it's a NSAIDs and the substance 2 they're taking SSRI, then the possible outcome could be increase in the risk of bleeding. Another example I can give you, NSAIDs as the substance 1, and triptans is another substance. If they took both of these, that could be a possible outcome, which is already identified. It's called serotonin syndrome. So these are the adverse reactions which we know of from the study, but there are a lot of adverse reactions we do not know. So how can we find that through innovative solutions? So with that, this is a challenge for you to find out and collect information using all the data sources available in the marketplace. You can take it and list out and find out how can you address this unmet need of drug interaction, which can be additional supplements to other challenges listed in our challenge. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So the next slide is just basically rounding this up. So how do you do it? How do you get involved? So you have 3 challenges. You can join 1, 2, or 3, or all of them. of all of these challenges, all you have to do is you accept the challenge. There is a very simple form that you need to fill out. What is intended here is to start the communication, so we can understand better what you're trying to do, so we can, help you connect if there's a chance to connect. So this is a way for us to know of your interests and what your ideas are. It is not the end all be all of what we're doing. So once you submit that form, the host of the challenge and the sponsors of the challenge will get back to you, and we'll have further communications. So the next slide is just to remind us that many ideas grow better when transplanted into another mind than the one they sprang up with. So again, I want to go back to what are we looking for? We really are looking for new ideas. We are not looking for a final product. We are not looking for a solution to all the problems in the world. We are looking for little ideas that can move the field forward, different approaches, different visualizations, different data sources, anything that can just pop up, and then let's just have that seedling and see if in the field of another brain or a couple of other brains, it can transform into something bigger and better and brighter. So we really want to encourage you to be open, to be transparent, to be collaborative, to be innovative, and then to be able to share those ideas with the community as we are moving forward to addressing very important public health needs. And thank you for your attention today. I'll pass it on to Stephen for next steps.
I'd like to thank Lilian, Mitra, Suranjay, and Sanjay for their presentation. I've got one slide just to run through. It's on the slide. It's on the presentation now, and then we'll move into a question and answer session. So it's a busy slide. The slides are going to come out, and the webinar will come out very shortly. But there's essentially 3 dates that I would like to highlight on this slide. First of all, we'd like to know if you intend to submit a solution by the end of October. So the submission deadline, 1st of November 2019. That's the date that we'd like to know if you are going to actually submit a solution. It doesn't have to be complete, but you need to have a concept and willingness to work on it. Throughout November, December, January and February, there'll be ongoing communication with those who are involved in the challenge. And the second date I'd like to raise is the February 24th. So by February 24th, 2020, that's the date that the solutions need to be final and uploaded into the portal. And again, we'll be working with you throughout the November, December, January, February to aim towards that point. And then the final date is the Fuse US Connect Innovation Challenge, which will be held as part of the Fuse US Connect event, which is going to be held in Orlando between the 8th and the 11th of March. So just to recap again, on the innovation website, if you're going to take part, you need to submit by the end of October. The final product or solution needs to be available 24th of February next year, and finally the presentation will be between the 8th and the 11th of March, details to be confirmed nearer the time. So that is all we have to present, but you have everyone here now. We have time, so if there's any questions, please do raise them through the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll try and adjudicate them as best I can, and then I'll read them out without your name, and then we'll see who's best to answer them. So okay, let me just start reading through what's come through. Will all the potential solutions have an opportunity to showcase their results at US Connect? I think a lot depends on the number, and then obviously we only present things that reach a certain quality. The reason why I was quite vague is because depending on the amount of interest, we will either do this in one day on the Monday, or we'll run it over 2 or 3 days, depending on the amount of interest. So we've got the capability, we've got the room to make this as big and as broad as possible. But I think we are waiting to see the amount of participation. But of course, things need to be at a certain quality before they get presented. So just scrolling down, unfortunately, every time I try and read, the whole thing just scrolls down the other way. Is there a central provision of any data, or does each team independently collect and curate their own data? Lillian, do you mind answering that?
So, absolutely, I can address that one. So we don't have a central provision of data, meaning that we are not hosting particular sets of data for the teams to use. So the teams will have to figure out what they want to use and independently collect and curate their own data. However, I have to say there is no reason why we should all do it independently necessarily. If the teams wanted to collaborate on putting together those sources of data and making them available, I'm sure that, as part of the challenge, we can work out a way in which the data can be hosted or it can be available to the teams. So having said that, the challenge itself does not provision for the data, and it's not precluded that the teams can collaborate if they identify sources of data that they want to use.
Thank you. The next question is similar, so I'll probably just answer that. So who and how do we follow up if there's additional questions about the requirements? Is there a mechanism for ongoing collaboration? So basically on the innovation website, there's a web form and there's also an email address that was on the previous slide, innovation.phuse.eu. Those at the moment will be the first point of calls. However, once you've made your submission, each of the 3 challenges will have a series of co-chairs from both FDA and from Fuse, and you'll be put in contact with those co-chairs on for those of those of you who are working on the submissions and the solutions from November onwards. Is there a limit to the size of the teams? No. Where can we access the registration form? If you go to the innovation.phuse.eu website, if you go down to the challenges, and if you look on the right-hand side of each challenge, it says accept challenge. Press that button. Or if you're on about the registration form for the event in Orlando, that is on the top of the website. There's the word event. And if you click on there, you can follow through the links there. Will all potential solutions be made publicly available as open source? So all potential solutions and everything that is presented at a Fuse conference, so all presentations will be available and will be shared. Now, if you are showing work that is your own IP, then that will not get shared and that will not be made public. The solution and the overall approach will be shared, but not any IP that you have as such.
And
now,
even if I can add a piece, so I'm a little hesitant to use the word solution because we are looking for incremental approaches. So I think that having said that your IP will be safeguarded, we are trying to provide potential increments in our knowledge and the way that we handle these data. So we are aiming to really make public as much as possible.
Thank you, Lillian. Next one is similar. If we know that we need a particular data set, but it's not available, can we simulate it?
I don't see a problem with that.
Nor me. Synthetic data is absolutely fine. What if I have an interest but cannot build a team? Will there be a way for interested people to join a team? I would recommend that you email the innovation@phuse.eu email address. state your skill and your interest, and then if we get enough of these requests, and we can make you known to the people who are putting teams together.
Absolutely. Our interest is also to connect people, to serve as connectors and collaborators. So highly encourage that. Okay,
there's another question regarding who keeps the IP of the solution, but I think Lilian's spoken about that already. Right, here's a long one. When talking of solutions, are we talking of ideas or implementation plans or product? For industry, how can we ensure this is pre-competitive so not to hinder true collaboration, cooperation? Lilian, I think you've addressed that as well, haven't you?
Yes, I think, but just to reiterate that we are talking for incremental, non-competitive, and we'd like to share as much as possible.
Next one, is there any possibility of sending all 3 challenge details in an email as well? Yes, just register once on the form, just so that we get your details, and then after that we'll then follow up with you individually. What is envisioned as the solution medium? Presentation, poster, demonstration, or something else?
So I think what we were envisioning was a live demo. So we want to be able to just talk through this. Is going to be highly interactive. We are setting up in a way that to give people an opportunity to actually present it, live.
The last question I have at the moment is, will the full participation list be released? We only release the names of those who are presenting at the event. So if you think of it like one of our normal conferences, we have people submit abstracts. We only publish the details of those who have been selected to present at the event.
Do we have any further questions for the subject matter experts in terms of the opioid questions or the post-market or drug interactions? Okay, we highly encourage you to participate. I think that we have an opportunity to make something amazing, and I hope that you take that challenge with us.
At the moment, there are no further questions on the webinar. What we can do is, again, if there's any questions that you would like to ask afterwards, you can contact us through the innovation website or the innovation email, and we will route your question appropriately. Can we get the subject matter experts' contact information, please, for follow-up? If you can send us your questions, we'll send them on. Next one, can we use any software?
I mean, it's innovation. Do whatever you want.
That's a yes.
Okay.
Sorry, long day. Well, I hope everyone's found that useful. Obviously, I'll just talk for the next 30 seconds and see if there's any last questions coming in. So just to recap on the dates, if you're interested and if you've got and you want to take part, end of October is the register your interest date. Middle of February or 24th of February is when the applications need to be complete. Solution or idea or what you're going to present, and then the event is mid-March. So that was it for the questions. Again, I would like to thank. Yes, sorry, Lilian.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Can you please remind people what the website, the address to the website is?
Yeah, it is innovation.phuse.eu.
Thank you.
There is a question just coming there. Will there be an overlap in the times with the actual Connect event? Yes, so you should think of this as an additional stream in the Connect event for those of you who are familiar with it. So it will be running concurrently. It will not run over the keynote sessions in the morning. It will start after the morning break and run through the rest of the day, just like other streams do. So again, just to recap, it's innovation.phuse.eu, and you can get to there via the Fuse website as well. And we'll send out an email with the recording for the webinar later this week, and we'll be sure to include the link there as well. So finally, I'd like to thank Lilian, Mitra, Saranjan and Sanjay for their time, their inspiration and also their enthusiasm. Very honoured to be helping answer these difficult challenges. So on behalf of Fuse, thank you very much, and thank you all for listening today. Much appreciated. So
thank you very much. Have a good time.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.